where you team up with a studio, Toonstar, that has already launched, 2 very, very funny series. And I got a chance to watch the first episode, and already it looks like they got like another hit on their hands, I think. And so congratulations on finally getting ready to launch anyway. Tell me a little bit about the idea, how it came about, and how the series eventually came to be.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I create, develop television shows in the comedy space traditionally, and where does your next idea ever come from? I don't know. One day, 5 years ago or something, I read an article about space junk and space garbage, and was just sort of like blown away that this existed. It was like, we did what to space? We put all the garbage to space, and it's going to kill us all. And so I just sort of became obsessed with it and kept reading about it, and then, was pretty convinced early on that this is the next great workplace comedy. It's garbage men in space picking up space trash. And I just fell into the idea, and I like the idea that it's kind of like, it's blue collar dudes in space. All these other space shows are like really sexy, and they're like futuristic, and it's got like a silver suit on, but I'm like, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think people are going to be up there like wrenching on things and doing work and like eating crappy food. And it's funnier than I think it's ever been given credit for. So I started developing the concept with Toonstar, who has just been this amazing partner, because they're a creative studio, but they're also an animation studio. So we can, actually make the things that we're talking about making. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. So early on, they said, hey, why don't we just take a swing at making this studio, or making the show in the Web3 space? And then, as opposed to going the traditional route, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds awesome. I mean, I've had a million projects, that you develop and take out to the market that don't get made. It's the saddest thing. So they said, we can go make it. I said, let's go make it. Let's go do this. And as I was developing the main character in Hank Nimbus, I thought of one guy that would just be perfect for it, and his name's Tony Cavalero. And
no. The first guy you were thinking of was Chris Pratt, and he wasn't available.
Chris Pratt wasn't available. I pitched Eddie Murphy. He said, no, thanks. We pitched a lot of topless talent. Yeah.
Tony, so how did you first hear about the series, and what made you jump at the chance to work on the project?
Well, Dom and I are old pals, have been for over a decade, and then his wife and my wife are friends. We're all friends, and he sent me a text just a few weeks ago and was like, hey man, I'm doing this animated show. Would you be interested in coming and reading for one of the parts? And Dom is, one of those, he's a ride or die. And I was like, yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, I'm there. Tell me where and when, and I'm there. And just because I know whatever he writes is brilliant, I'm on board. And then he sent the character along, and I was like, oh, this is great. Bumbling idiot who thinks he knows it all and has tons of confidence, but absolutely has no idea what he's doing. Great. Awesome. It sounds like me when the Apple TV's broken,
Let me rub my belly on it. Yeah. Let me rub
Yes, exactly. Wait, I unplug it and I lick the power cord, and then I put it back in, blow on it a little bit.
Blowing in Nintendo games, I think.
Yes, dude, exactly. But I think the great thing about Hank is that, I think his heart is in the right place. I do think he truly wants to, do the right thing when it comes down to the core of it. And, I think of Danny McBride as Jesse Gemstone in Righteous Gemstones. He's got, that smart ass, that bumbling idiot. I think Hank's heart's maybe a little more right place. Or I think about, Star-Lord and Guardians of the Galaxy, some of these guys where, I always end up playing kind of these lovable losers. And so I'm really trying to bring that heart of gold aspect to that character of Hank. And I think it really shines in the show. And just lucky that Dom wrote such a funny, easy character to play. And, I feel really grateful that we've known each other for so long, because I think he knows exactly how to play to my strengths. So
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure it helps for sure. Dominic, so what was your decision like to make this an animated series versus a live action series, like a Workaholics or something like that? What was that decision making process like, and why did you ultimately pick as animation as the format in which to deliver Space Junk?
Yeah, I mean, it's the, like, you know, initially I thought of Spaceballs and was like, there's a version of this that's like a Spaceballs that's kind of a low, you know, like a low rent, kind of dirty live action version. I think ultimately it was difficult to make a space show in the live action world. And so it sort of naturally progressed towards animation, you know, as we started writing storylines and saying, we want to do a full moon party on the moon, and like do these different kinds of, which is not in this season, so don't tell anybody that. But you know, it just became kind of apparent that the animation was the best route for this show because of the space implications and you know, and like the South Parks, the Family Guys, like Simpsons, like these are animation shows that are obviously like untouchable. But the more I got into the animation side of this, you sort of realize like, oh, you can do anything in the best way possible. And I think in the world of comedy today, like that was very exciting to me to be able to stretch it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Tony, what was your first reaction when you got to see your character animated, and what were some of your takeaways?
My first reaction was, I felt like, did they take my real hair? Did they take photos of my real hair and put it in the animation? And also a sub thought of that was, is my hair that greasy? Because whatever photo they took that from was either I had a lot of hairspray on or I hadn't shampooed in a while. And but I also think Hank is very handsome, so I'm pretty pumped about that. And I mean, the coolest thing about this, John, is that, like, I'm not kidding you, I recorded, and then like 2 weeks later I got to see like the first cut of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that turnaround speed is just amazing. So I mean, the cool thing about partnering up with an NFT Web3 company is like, yeah, they're at the edge of technology here with this animation and putting everything together, and they have everything in house is like next level technology. So I mean, they're able to throw this together so quickly, which is such a neat thing. We're not waiting on approval from this, that, and the other, and sending it here and sending it back, you know, that old traditional studio system way of doing things. It's really neat, the speed of how quickly this stuff gets turned around is mind-blowing.
Yeah, sure. And Dominic, I'm sure you've had your fair share of TV shows possibly ruined by network notes. So I can't imagine, you know, that being, if any, notes coming from Toonstar in terms of, like, you know, they're probably not going to, you know, say to Dominic or Russo, hey, you know, write this, write that, you know, change this, change that. I mean, what's that experience been like in working on this series?
I mean, it's a big part why it's been so positive and fun is that, you know, they just said like, hey, it's just going to be us making this. There's no legal team or marketing team or whatever else comes with, you know, the traditional studio model. And it's been a lot of fun. Like we write the scripts, pitch, you know, there's a few little maybe notes like for clarity or something, all story related stuff. This didn't make sense, whatever, but nothing like can't do that, can't do this. Which was just another reason I think this whole model in the Web3 space is like going to be so attractive to creators and writers. It's look, like, why go through all that? Obviously the tons and tons of money part, but you know, like if there's a direct stream to creating content that is viable in a marketplace, and you get to make the shows that you want to make, you know, I think it's going to be interesting and attractive to other creators too. So
Yeah, and of course, Web3 is a hot button issue right now, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys are not unprivy to, the strike news and, their fears about artificial intelligence. And then I'm sure that's something, Tony, as an actor, SAG actor is I'm sure going to have to kind of take that on maybe. And Dominic, I think the cool thing about Web3 is it's lowered the gates. There used to be really, really high gates where it was hard to get into. It's kind of lowered the gates. So how do you balance the pros of this Web3, all the Web3 technologies that are out there, but still be cool with some of your friends might be literally on, outside as we speak. I'm in New York City. I'm right outside New York City, pacing around NBC and having this, very anti take on Web3 tech. And of course, you guys are even embracing it even more by introducing a character that's going to be voiced completely by AI. So just your general consensus on
that. Do you want to lead, Tony, or we're coming from different?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we have to understand that it is an interesting and can be very cool technology, but also there has to be some regulation with this sucker, and I think it's all moving super fast, and that's why, yeah, we got to get on it right now. And I think the DGA is going to strike. I think the actors are going to strike, and rightfully so, because it's good that we're, striking while the iron's hot, literally, while this is all happening. And I think the cool thing about this show is that we want to very, with this being a Web3 and NFT show, we're embracing the technology while also saying, hey, we understand it. We want to use it for the show. We're literally voicing a robot with a robot.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think, I think we all understand the intricacies of what's going on right now, and we're doing the best we can to, make sure we navigate it and keep it in the back of our minds that, hey, this is going to be a fight for all of us. We're not going to try and skirt the system. We want to, yeah, we're trying to do this as an independent thing, but we also are going to, stand with our unions and make sure we don't cross any picket lines or anything like that. That's not the idea of this show. It just so happens to line up with everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get it sorted out. And I think, the more that we all stand strong together, the quicker this thing is going to get resolved. And we're going to have some ideas of, how to kind of navigate it going forward. But again, I think really, anybody says AI right now, and it's a hot button issue. And I think, with our show, the idea is that we're voicing a robot with a robot is a pretty cool concept. And I think, we are doing it the right way, whereas some people are, hey, write me an action movie in the vein of Terminator 2. There is a problem with that. So yeah, man, I think that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Dominic, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of looking at it from the writer's side of things. I'm in the WGA, and I'm struck right now. So definitely support the writers in town. And yeah, like I haven't seen the AI script. I'm sure it's around the corner, that's worthwhile. I don't know. I don't think it's obviously, it would be terrible for the creative industry if the studios think they can just like trim all costs and get rid of all writers. I'm not sold that the computers are going to be good at it yet, for comedy especially, or like,
Sure.
I know so much of comedy comes from just like personal failures and shitty dates and like screw ups in your own life, and then you get to sort of pull that information and be embarrassed and like plug it into your characters and your story, and that's going to drive all the heart and the emotion and the audience to care about it. And so, I'm sure AI can like paint a structure for story, but I don't know. I'm sure I will be proven wrong, and a computer will have more feelings than I've ever had. But I'm with the creators on this, obviously, and the collaborative effort of the process of writing a script in the writer's room. I mean, so much comes out of the writer's room that's magical that you can't plan for and a computer can't do. There's just that process, I think, is overlooked a lot in these conversations, and how important it is. And people think you're in there just goofing around and eating pizza, but it's not, it's everything. And
Sure.
We can't let that go away, or else ultimately what'll happen is, if the shows all start to suck, these companies will lose money and they'll say, what's going on?
Yeah.
And
But and sorry to interrupt, Don, but it's just like, guys, the thing is, with all this new technology, everything gets sped up. And as everything gets sped up, a lot of times the creatives get left in the dust, while everyone's looking everything got sped up. Great. We can cut corners here and save costs, and we can make all the money. Yeah. And it leaves us, the writers, the directors, the actors, in the lurch, catching up. And that's what we're doing. We're just playing catch up right now. And I think it's going to be a work in progress. It was the same way. I mean, I remember getting Netflix DVDs in the mail. They literally just stopped doing that and being like, this is the silliest idea ever. And I remember when Orange is the New Black came out on Netflix, and I was like, who's going to watch that? You know what I mean? And it was like, it became a huge show. And now so many streaming shows are like the biggest shows on, and you say on TV, but on streaming. So I mean, it's like, and it's all playing catch up, because it's like, I'll have a commercial running. This, I haven't done one in a while, but and people will be like, hey, I saw your commercial, and I was streaming the NBA game, or I was streaming a college lacrosse game or whatever, and I saw your commercial 50 times. And I'm like, yeah, I got 50 cents from that. These streaming, you're still finding and all the numbers are so close to the vest that it's everything, everything, we need to slow down a little bit. Let's catch up. Let's figure out how, how everyone gets a piece of the pie, so we can all move forward and live, because it seems like the living costs are going up, and our paychecks.
Well, you're sitting on a throne here, Tony. You look like you're doing okay.
I know. This is actually, I think I got this for $45 at the Rose Bowl flea market here.
Oh, nice.
And this is my wife's throne. I am but a humble peasant in her queendom.
So Dominic, tell me a little bit about, I know some of the things about creating, a TV show. Usually you have to have a Bible kind of in place, a plan of where your episodes are going to be, and so on and so forth. But I think with the NFT influence, it kind of changes things up a bit, right? In terms of having NFT holders be a potential influence on the stories and the characters and whatnot. So what has that been like? And, what's that relationship been like? And what are the pros and cons of opening up a little bit more to other creative ideas?
Yeah, well, in the first season, you got to start somewhere, kind of an idea, right? So it's like, we got to build the world for people to participate in. Sure. So, most of the first season is the main storylines are kind of laid out. I think there's a lot of fun to be had in some of the details with the audience being able to participate in the details. In general, it's, maybe think of it like a video game. Like, there's a bunch of people building some Call of Duty like landscape, and then it's the audience that gets to make that different every day by participating. So, until the landscape is laid out and people are playing in it, I don't really know what it's going to be like. I'm excited to see what people do with their characters and the backstories they create. And, I want to kind of like look through the logbook at night and go like, oh, look at this character somebody had and this character. And then hopefully, you can kind of pick stuff that catches your eye or however it's going to work. I don't know the minutia of the detail yet, but I think it's going to be exciting to see what people bring to the table story-wise. I mean, I don't know if you ever go on Reddit and read a thread, but
Sure.
you kind of go through the thread and you're like, there's some really funny stuff in here. Like that guy's joke against this. And you sort of find yourself entertained with this group of people who you've never met. And, there's funny voices out there. I think this is a cool way to bring everyone into potentially the fold. And so I'm just mostly excited about what people will come up with.
Yeah, that sounds great. All right, guys. Well, I'll let you go. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me about the new series, Space Junk. Like I said, I watched it. It was really, really great. And I'm hopefully we can be talking again about season 2 sooner rather than later.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's
Thanks.
do it.
Thanks,
All right,
John.
Dominic, thanks so much.